All right, everybody, I'm going to be diving in this week into BCE's earnings. I know I've been talking a lot about this company as of late, but this is a very, very popular company here in Canada among retail investors, institutional investors, and it seems like the company is making news on a weekly basis. So I want to go over its quarterly results and its acquisition of Ziply Fiber. The stock is getting absolutely hammered post-earnings and post-acquisitions. And realistically, I mean, I'm not really all that surprised. I think BCE is making some very, very bad moves right now that is causing this drawdown. It's losing a lot of investor trust. And overall, this telecom, it's pretty much a tale of two different telecoms right now. When we look to a company like TELUS, which is reporting pretty strong results, they just reported this morning. And then we have BCE, which is reporting soft results, reductions in guidance, taking on more debt, which is just, in my opinion, absurd at this point in time. And overall, I'm just going to dive into the results and give my overall opinion yet again. As always, if you want to head down to the description, I have 3 of my top picks for 2024. You can grab that in-depth research report absolutely free. Link in the description. So BCE's results. The first thing I'm going to do actually before I dig into the results is actually go to the acquisition, because the acquisition happened first. So a few days ago, BCE announced they were going to acquire Ziply Fiber, which is a U.S. internet provider. Essentially, it provides internet services in the United States. It's not a very large telecom in the grand scheme of things. You can see the purchase price was for about $3.65 billion. Now, why did Bell do this first off? I think it is because of the regulations being put in place in Canada that is going to limit these telecoms in terms of overall growth. And I do feel that Bell is essentially reaching a level of desperation here where it feels it needs to grow internationally, where it's not hampered so much due to regulations, and it has entered the US market with Ziply Fiber. Now, this is not even close to a guarantee for the company to actually make this acquisition work. The US area, the US internet providers, telecom providers, competition is absolutely fierce south of the border. Here in Canada, there's really not that much. There is competition amongst the major players, but the industry is heavily regulated. The top 3 have massive, gigantic market shares. And by Bell entering the US market, I do feel they're taking on an extensive risk. Now, one of the main things you'll probably know is that Bell, this was probably a month or so ago. I might be wrong on that. It might give or take a few weeks. They sold off their MLSE, their Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. They sold that off to Rogers. They completely divested out of that. And initially, their commentary on that acquisition, the cash from that acquisition, was the fact that they were going to be reducing debt and, repairing their balance sheet. And they go out less than a month later, around a month later, and they do this. They spend that MLSE money towards this acquisition. So they are estimated to use the $4.2 billion in proceeds from the sale of its ownership stake in Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment towards the acquisition. So effectively, they have sold off what I believe was their best non-core asset in MLSE. It was not a strong cash flow generator, but it was also an asset that had increased in value significantly. And in my opinion, sports teams are going to continue to increase in value significantly in the future. These sports teams are becoming more popular. They're finding they can raise ticket prices and still sell the buildings out. And just overall, they sold off an asset that I really believe they should have kept. And they ended up buying this fiber company. Now, where the level of, trust comes in, I guess you would say, is the company stated they were going to repair their balance sheet, or at least begin the process of repairing their balance sheet, reducing debt levels, getting those interest expenses down with the sale of MLSE. A month later, they go and they spend all that money on an acquisition in a highly competitive environment, one that is not even close to being guaranteed to working out for them. And not only did they spend all the cash, but they took out $2 billion more debt. So if we go to the company's debt levels here, we can see that year-to-date debt has increased 14.3, almost 15%. Whereas we look at somebody like Rogers, 1.37% in debt increase, TELUS 6.35. BCE clearly over the last while, they have a spending problem here. They cannot afford the dividend. They're not generating enough free cash flow to cover the dividend. They have zero cash flow to spend because it's being paid out and then some. So they're relying a lot on debt, while many of the other telecoms have actually scaled down. We actually have a reduction in quarter-over-quarter debt levels for TELUS and Rogers leading up to its most recent quarter. The reason you don't see TELUS here is YCharts doesn't have the most recent data from the quarter they reported this morning. But when we look to BCE's interest expenses, we can see they're absolutely ballooning. We're talking December 2019 around 1.12 billion, and we're talking, they're getting close to 1.7 billion in over the last 12 months. These interest expenses are continuing to balloon, and the difficulty here is we're seeing interest rates fall in Canada, but we're not seeing bond yields fall. So this will have a impact on the company's refinancing moving forward. A lot of people have the impression that once interest rates come down, BCE is automatically going to save money on their debt refinancing. This is not the case. Their floating rate variable debt will decline, yes, but we need yields to come down, bond yields to come down, especially when you look to something like the 5-year Bank of Canada bond. Those need to come down, or else they're at the risk of higher refinancing, especially with their debt downgrade. I mean, this is a company that is one level above junk level debt. I mean, it's not going to be an attractive refinancing proposition from many of the banks. So this acquisition caused the company to fall around 10%. And I do believe this is a combination of the company spending the money that it said it was going to use to repair the balance sheet just a month later. And make no mistake about it, this company, Bell would have known they were going to do this prior to the sale of their MLSE. These types of acquisitions take a very long time. So it would have been in discussion when MLSE happened. And I do believe they probably would have been wise to let investors know when they sold MLSE that there is a chance they could spend all that cash on an acquisition and take out further debt in an attempt to expand into the US markets. There was very little mention of this. I do feel it could work out for Bell. I mean, they're acquiring fiber networks, they're acquiring assets, but they're entering into a very, very competitive space. And in addition to this, the company stated that they are going to suspend dividend growth in an attempt to repair the balance sheet. It's such a weird situation. So they sell MLSE. They state they're going to, work on repairing the balance sheet. They spend, all that money on this acquisition. They take out additional debt to deteriorate the balance sheet even further, and then they suspend dividend growth in an attempt to repair the balance sheet. So this is a company that typically only grows the dividend, 3% per year. You're talking, they pay out around $4 a share. You're talking about 12 cents a year on an earnings per share basis savings from not growing the dividend, where they go and they spend, $5 billion at a historically weak Canadian dollar as well. They're not getting, they had to pay for this acquisition in US dollars. So that's another impact. We're at a crazy low in the Canadian dollar. They're spending this money. They're not repairing the balance sheet. They're making it even worse. And then they suspend dividend growth in an attempt to repair the balance sheet, when really the MLSE money should have went towards repairing the balance sheet. I do believe this company needs to kind of take care, of itself, before it goes out and spends money in the United States in an attempt to grow. So that's my thoughts on the acquisition. I don't really feel it's all that good. The market did not feel it's all that good. I mean, it dropped 10%, obviously. But now there was a double whammy because the company reported earnings, and the earnings were very weak. I mean, if we look to actual headline numbers, we can see that the company did beat on earnings per share estimates, 25% beat. They missed on revenue estimates, missed by about 1%. But there's a lot of, underlying issues with this company right now. It's not going very well for BCE. And I mean, this isn't really just my opinion. The market believes this as well. The company is down. Let's look. The company is down around 26% on the year. And when we look to the other telecoms, Rogers and BCE, don't get me wrong, the telecoms, they've not been very good, but there is an outlier here. BCE is underperforming the other two by a gigantic margin. And when did this start to happen? It started to happen in, early 2024. The company was taking on more debt. It was posting soft results. It was reducing its guidance. And overall, it just isn't going well for this company right now. And when we get back to the quarterly results, we can see that revenue is down 1.8% year over year. TELUS reported a boost in year-over-year revenue. We can see adjusted EBITDA up 2.1%. I mean, that's at the mid-range or the low range of their guidance, actually. And when we look to adjusted earnings per share, they're down 7.4% year-over-year. So we're seeing a high single-digit decline. We can see operating cash flows down 6.1% year-over-year. Capital expenditures are down $205 million year-over-year, but the company is not seeing that all reflect in free cash flow. We can see free cash flow $832 million. It's up 10.3%. You're talking $80 million in growth in free cash flow on a reduction of $205 million in capital expenditures. So they're not realizing all those capex cuts to free cash flow. We can't expect it to provide 100% growth in free cash flow, but there should be more reflection in terms of growth of free cash flow relative to their capex cuts. When we look to revenue, we're looking at $5.4 billion. It's down 3.3% to $5.28 billion. So we're seeing declines in revenue. And the main result of that is just how competitive the wireline service is right now. Their wireline revenue down 0.9% year over year. Cumulative impact of competitive pricing and rate plan pressures. I mean, we're seeing declining average revenues per user from these telecom companies. We're seeing higher churn rates because of stiff competition. And ultimately, the company needs to grow from new Canadians, effectively new people coming into the country signing up for phone plans. And if you haven't heard recently, the government plans to cut that off. They do plan to reduce the total amount of immigrants that they bring into the country, which will impact this company. So we see net debt leverage ratios 3.7x. This is higher than their guidance that they previously issued. However, they just bumped up their guidance because they realized they couldn't hit the lower targets. They're maintaining the dividend at $3.99 per share, despite earnings expected to decline on the year, free cash flow expected to decline on the year. I mean, the dividend is unaffordable. That's not anything out of the ordinary. They have not been able to afford the dividend for years. I had mentioned this. I showed a chart and I'll pop it up again here. BCE, this is the longest period of time it has gone with an unaffordable dividend, one that free cash flow does not cover in decades. This is not something that has historically been happening for BCE, and it's happening right now. And when we look to the overall guidance, so they were expecting 0% to 4% revenue growth. That is now being guided down to a 1.5% decline in revenue. So revenue is going to decline, and somehow they expect everything else to stay relatively the same. What I would imagine is their adjusted earnings and their free cash flow growth is so wide, -7 to -2 and -11 to -3. I would imagine they're going to come in at the lower end of these declines in guidance. And overall, it was just a very rough quarter from BCE. And the last thing the market wanted to see was a suspension of dividend growth. Not because, I could see this company suspending dividend growth if operations were weak and, they said, hey, we're going through a tough time. We're going to suspend dividend growth moving forward. But instead, the company went out and spent $5 billion and then, its sale of MLSE and then suspended dividend growth. The dividend was already unaffordable previously to this acquisition. They went and spent a ton of money on something that could have easily improved the balance sheet, and overall the market just didn't like it. I mean, when we look to free cash flow, $2.96 billion in trailing 12-month free cash flow. The company pays out $4 a share in terms of dividends, 912 million shares outstanding. You can do the simple math here. You're looking at, over $3.6 billion in dividends paid on $2.9 billion in free cash flow. The dividend is unaffordable. Long-term debt has crept above $40 billion. Again, they're growing debt while the other telecoms are at least maintaining it, if not declining it. We can see payout ratios. We're talking, 128% of operating cash flows. Earnings is, crazy high. We're talking a 10% yield. The market is definitely pricing in some sort of dividend cut from BCE moving forward, and I would not be shocked if they cut it next year, if operations don't improve, if they don't see material increases in free cash flow. I mean, they need to make up, $600-700 million in free cash flow just to afford the dividend. That doesn't even give them breathing room. That's just to afford the dividend. So if I were to guess, I would say that there is a pretty good chance that BCE will be forced to suspend the dividend in 2025. I've seen this time and time again. We see a consistent slowing of revenue growth, slowing earnings growth. We first then get the, low single digit dividend growth. BCE gave that, over the last few years. We see that, that dividend growth rate declining. Eventually the company suspends dividend growth. That's the next phase. And then as we head into 2025 and 2026, we might see that dividend cut. I would not be surprised. Is it a guarantee? No. The company could turn operations around. It could, start to grow. This Ziply acquisition could work out. They could, fuel a bit of growth in the US markets, which is a much, larger market, but again, heavily competitive market. I would say BCE is definitely swimming upstream here. I do feel they could have done a lot of things differently in terms of mitigating those interest expenses, paying down that debt, but instead they just spent all the money and they suspended dividend growth. And overall, I just don't see a lot of promise for this company moving forward. So everybody, that's it for the video. Hope you liked it. Again, head down below into the description. You can grab 3 of my top picks for 2024, absolutely free. It's a free comprehensive report. A ton of people love this report and you're not going to want to miss it. And again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more great investing content.